Speaking of streamers and licensed content, though, let's talk about this Stadia guy. So there was a tweet. Try and get the tweet up. By this guy with a Twitter handle Bang Bang Click, aka Alex Hutchinson, saying streamers worried about getting their content pulled because they use music they didn't pay. Wait, is this one? Follow up to that, he said, the real truth is the streamers should be paying the developers and publishers of the games they stream. They should be buying a license like any real business and paying for the content they use, which is probably the worst take in gaming on social media for the past week, not the past month. And of course, this guy works at Stadia.
Yeah, and what are the development studios?
And that's what Stadia's was one of the principles it was built on. Was the ease of streaming on YouTube, which still isn't implemented.
Which is crazy to me that that's still not around.
It's like they can't do anything right. Like this little upswing and like, oh, you have a demo that's playable. It was pretty fast to log in, and then you have somebody just shitting on content creators on Twitter. Like, why would you do this?
I don't know if
like, what timing, man?
I know he's an idiot, but I don't know if I've said this on this podcast, but 2020 would have been a perfect year for Stadia to pull ahead out of its grave and make a point with all of the gaming conferences, the E3, the PAXs, they're all shut down. Google could be the good guy here and say, hey, all you developers that usually showcase your games at all of these trade shows, give us X dollars. We'll put your demo on Stadia so that anybody around the world can play your game. You'll get visibility. People would throw money at developers would throw money for that kind of visibility. Instead, what's Stadia doing? They're trying it right now with this Ubisoft game, but like you have a year with no competition right now in the space of trying demos outside of Steam. But to go on Steam, you have to look it up, you have to download that, and then you have to delete it when you're done. With Stadia, it's the best. It's the best service because it's just like, here, try it on your phone, try it in whatever browser you want, and then you just forget about it when you're done. It boggles my mind that nobody at Stadia is thinking of this.
It took me like less than 5 minutes to jump in too. Like,
I want a developer to fire back at them. I don't know if a developer did. I want the developer of Among Us to fire back at them and be like, "You're a fucking moron." Because by that logic, there would be no video reviews for anything, and you can't sit there and tell me that people don't get influenced by. I've bought games based on other people's opinions and other people's videos. People have bought games based on my opinions of stuff. You know, you especially fucking smaller games, dude. Like that's why when you see a sponsored video on a YouTube channel, a lot of people get upset. Oh, this is just a shilling video, blah blah blah. And it's like, no, do you know how fucking hard it is to get your video game out there? To have people talking about it in a positive or even just, you know, an informative light. Mm-hmm. You know, that's why things like that happen. That's why things like sponsored videos happen, because for every one developer that, you know, is able to make a living on their game, there's 99,000 probably. That's a little much. We'll say 99. There's 99 that don't, and their game flops and their game fails. And they're like, what could I have done differently? Oh, advertising. So this person wants to basically get rid of advertising.
Yeah,
but it's crazy because Among Us, you know, was successful on exactly that. Like they were one of the developers that had their game, you know, not necessarily, you know, successful, but it wasn't really, you know, doing that great either up until this person decided to put it on their channel and then it exploded.
Exactly. They were making a sequel for it. They figured, okay, well, this game didn't do anything, whatever, let's move on. And then all of a sudden it became the biggest game. It destroyed. Remember Fall Guys? No, nobody remembers Fall Guys. Everyone's fucking sucking the teat of Among Us now. And it's like one of the biggest games that's streaming, and, you know, probably bought them houses and cars. And it's just like, shut the fuck up. Like, that's a statement I would expect Jason Schreier to make, because
for a minute I was like, what?
No, but seriously, that's a very Jason Schreier like comment, because it's that old mindset. It's that old, and I could see if it came from a website, because websites, you know, and more traditional media, they fucking hate YouTube. They fucking hate Twitch because the people are able to make their own identity and their own brands on there, where and the websites hate that because it's taking into their thing, but it's just the changing of the times. But that's a very website like take, and for someone like that in their sort of position of power to say something like that, it's ridiculous.
I can see maybe what he's trying to get at, but it's a really bad take for so many reasons.
And plus, like somebody said, his banner art was stolen from someone else, and he cropped
out
the
watermark.
He cropped out the watermark. That was terrible. So this guy, okay, the licensing thing, yeah, it's an issue. And what do you do? Let's say everyone would do what he's suggesting. What do you do to games that are no longer in development, or if a studio disbanded? So if that was the case, then the whole streaming ecosystem would become rich streamers that are paying top dollar to get the newest games, and then every other streamer pretty much playing any game that's 20 years old and beyond that they can touch. That's one. The second thing is where I think he's trying to get at is he's seeing the ninjas and all these guys who are making millions and millions of dollars on streaming, which he's probably saying, well, developers should get a piece of the pie. But those guys, the ninjas, are the exception, and they're not the norm. There are quite literally millions and millions of streamers that they don't make more than most of them probably make less than $10. Like if I would have to say the majority, with the exceptions being in the $1,000 plus range. So this guy is trying to solve a problem that maybe bugs him with a handful of influencers by just scorching the whole ecosystem, which is why this is a bad take. The third take I want to bring up is actually in esports, to bring a little bit of a different perspective. If you have a tournament in esports that is above a certain prize pool level, you actually do have to pay the developer a licensing fee at that point to and that's the way that the developers and publishers preserve the integrity of their game and make sure that there are standards for anyone who competes in their tournaments. Everyone does this except Nintendo, which is silly. So like Smash Brothers, that's completely grassroots. But when you go into all these other esports communities, if you're doing, EA and all that, and you're trying to make a really high-profile tournament with $50,000, $100,000 prize pools, just like any other real sport, you do have to pay a licensing fee to get access to that. I don't know if it's paying a licensing fee or getting an agreement, but you basically have to work with the developer/publisher at that point.
I have one flaw with your argument.
Not really arguing, but sure.
This your second point, saying that Ninja streaming the game isn't making the money. That's bullshit. Because Ninja streaming the game is raising awareness of that game, and the people who watch him are then going to want to play that game. Oh man,
he made Fortnite a household name.
Yes,
I shouldn't even say this, but I feel like my Oceanhorn video that goes up on Wednesday is going to sell copies of Oceanhorn because it had an original game that did okay-ish, but not a lot of people are paying attention to this game that it's coming out pretty soon. I'm really one of the only people that's talked about it since it was confirmed to be coming to the Switch, and then I made a follow-up video when they gave it a release date. But this is a game that would probably be very overlooked unless people talk about it and give reasons why it's a game that they should want to check out. And I'm 8 hours in right now, and I'm just like, wow, this is a really enjoyable game that if I wasn't playing it and I didn't know about it because it's a more under the radar thing, nobody would probably pick it up.
Yeah, because I feel like content creators too, they do the job that PR can't do, which is give some sort of analysis about it, other than tell you everything great about the game that's going to be coming out. Whereas and select screens and but people want to know how does this character jump? Is there a jump function? What's the map look like when you pull it up? And I think that's the job of the content creators to come in with that analysis, as well as hey, this is the actual gameplay you can see, things to expect. They do other things than just write it off as a Zelda clone, because they're showing more to it. And which, to Sean's point, I agree. That's going to sell games better than are you ready for a Zelda action adventure and blah blah
Oh.
blah blah blah, and it's like, that's PR speak, and I could give a shit less about that.
Exactly. I think to sum it up, we all agree the streamer ecosystem, as much as Sean loves that word, it's here to stay. It's part of gaming. It benefits more than it hinders anybody. And I think that there's a lot of shade that's often thrown to content creators because no content creator has gotten there easily. Every content creator has their own story of sacrifice, putting a lot of hours, a lot of effort to get to where they are today. And it's so easy to look at these people where they're sitting at and say and be jealous because it's like, oh, they're just sitting playing video games, raking in money, and people are throwing. It's like, okay, that's what you're seeing. You have no idea what that person's been through and how much effort and sacrifices they did in their personal life to get to where they are today.
And
And
even
I
so, like, who cares?
Sorry?
Be your own even if even let's say the opposite end of the spectrum. Let's say that they just got lucky and they just fell into it. Who gives a fuck?
Well, I
People
mean,
are born into money and shit like that. Are you gonna hold that against them? No. What difference does it make? Worry about your motherfucking self. Quit worrying about what the next man is doing, what the next woman, what the next person is doing. Ain't none of your business. Worry about yourself. Get yourself in line, and then fuck.
Yeah, I just feel like, and they'll leave it at this. Like, the comment he made was, I think it's rubbing so many people the wrong way because it sounds like a comment someone would make that isn't in the industry, that hasn't seen, like, where has your head been in the fucking sand this whole time? Like, how could you not miss that this is a crucial part, of the makeup of the video games industry is now, this aspect of it. It's one channel for content creators to make content, but it's also, for publishers and developers and PR people to approach them with, paid advertising or whatever the case may be. And it just seems like it's just so, like, it's like, if some guy that is some big mogul bought a esports team and started, charging fans like crazy amounts of money or something off the wall. And I it just feels so out of place for him to say something like that. Especially on Twitter.
wouldn't it be cool if we could get him on this podcast? Just be like,
Oh, he fucking.
dude, what's up? What's on your mind? What was going through your head when you wrote that? All right.
I was drunk. It was late. I was sleepy.